Hello YouTube! As you might have noticed, it is now November, which is the month out of the year where we focus on men's mental and physical health. And with that, there is a special event known as Movember that is also running. It's the reason why, as you can see, I'm clean shaven even though I wanted to grow a beard. But I was invited to join in the movement by my brother Faz Lift. You can check his video, it's in the description, where he details what Movember is all about. And upon reading the description, I knew I had to join because it perfectly aligns with my values. As you know, this channel is of course about bodybuilding, building muscle, but it's also about you, about becoming a better man, and becoming a better man is also having a better mental and physical health. Things that, for the most part, are completely ignored by mainstream media. We are never the focus of attention. Sadly, men's health is just, it's not a concern apparently, and the fact that we die on average 5 years younger than our female counterparts is widely ignored. It is not something that seems to interest anyone, but it does interest me because a long life is of course needed if you want to be able to have kids, if you want to be able to accumulate experience. I believe that it is a travesty that in a country like the US, men die on average in their 70s when it is absolutely possible for us to live 90, maybe 100 years old in perfect health. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to discuss our mental and physical health and all of the things that you can do to better it. It's going to take actually looking at it and actually putting the spotlight on it. We as men cannot expect anyone to take care of it for us. We have independence and we have responsibilities. And with that also comes the burden of having to shoulder all of these things. No one is going to save you. You're going to have to do it by yourself. Understand that all of the factors that promote early death in men can be traced back to biology, but it would be a coup to say that we are just doomed to die early and that women can just live longer because they are born this way. That is bullshit. Most of the factors that promote early death in men are caused by the environment and therefore they are caused by your choices. You are absolutely in control of that. But the issue is that we, as men, are notoriously bad about taking care of our health. By, again, a show of hands, how many of you fine gentlemen go to the doctor regularly? How many of you go to the dentist? If you are married, don't lie to me, the person that gets you to go to these visits is your wife. She's the one insisting. And it's the reason why if you compare married to non-married men, married men tend to live longer on average because you have someone in your house who is actually paying attention. You are not paying attention, and this is something that needs to be changed. I understand perfectly why you're like this. I'm exactly like that as well. I'm not particularly interested in doing blood work, and as long as I feel fine, I just shrug my shoulders and say, fuck it. But this is the type of mindset that leads to early deaths. Just because you are doing fine now doesn't mean that you are actually fine. You have to pay attention to these things. And it's completely countercultural because this is not how we are raised as boys. As a boy, unless you live in an environment where people are a bit more conscious, you are going to be taught to ignore pain, you are going to be told that it is not manly to pay attention to your health, and overall, even things like crying or expressing emotions are going to be shunned, or at least in countries that can be described as stereotypically masculine. I want you to understand that I have nothing against that. I push for strong masculinity on this channel. But being strong is also being conscious. And when you ignore messages of your body, this is not being smart and this is not being tough. This is just being a knucklehead. And this is not something that I want to promote. So, even though resilience is important, understand that the only way to be truly resilient is to actually look at your body, look at the sign, interpret them, and then get fixed. Dying of a flu because you get an infection and then you get pneumonia is not tough, it's just completely idiotic. So try to rework in your own head the definition of toughness, of masculinity. Yes, it's important to, again, to soldier on, to be a warrior, But a true warrior is the one that is wanting to live long enough to fight 100 battles. If you take an arrow to the knee and you tell yourself, well, it's not money to get it checked out, then it gets infected and you die, this is stupid. This is how we are to actually look at warrior culture, the remnants of it that we have nowadays, that some people describe as toxic masculinity. Well, I think that the term is widely overused and is usually weaponized to attack vibrant and vital masculinity that is absolutely important for men to possess. There is some truth in that there are certain positive aspects of masculinity that can become rotten if you are not careful. And this is what we are dealing with right now. Again, understand that you cannot expect the system to do these things for you. Look at the amount of hotlines, suicide hotlines available for men. Look at the amount of resources that a man will be able to access if he gets abused by his wife. These things are almost non-existent. There actually are some hotlines that if you call them and you tell them, hey, my wife is abusive, they will try to flip the script on you and tell you that you are actually the problem. Why? Because these people are actually focused on destroying masculinity. They make no distinction between toxic and non-toxic masculinity. This is why I today came out with this video. This is why Movember exists. It's men talking to men. We cannot expect anyone else to take care of ourselves. We have to do it amongst ourselves like brothers. So this is what it's going to start taking. Rewrite in your own head the idea that being tough is ignoring your condition. It simply isn't. Ignoring signs of degrading health isn't brave, it's actually cowardly. This is not a masculine trait. If you have something that needs to be checked out, you have some complications or you don't feel right, just plugging bananas in your ear and pretending it's not there is a sign that you are refusing to face the truth, and nothing could be less masculine than that. You have to actually face your problems head on. This is what Movember also encourages men to do. If we look at the way a disease functions, a disease, be it psychological or physical, is a problem in your life. And we all know that problems don't go away when we ignore them. If anything, they get worse. And this is exactly what we're going to deal with a disease. If you have a problem or something significant that requires to be checked and done to be cured, if you just turn your back and think, well, it's going to be better at some point, it's just going to grow and grow and grow. And the day you have to actually start to look at it, you're going to be fucked. And it's going to happen. That day will come because you cannot run away from your problems, meaning that one day you will be confronted by them. Riddle me this. What is the best way to approach a fight? Is it to walk towards the fight prepared, or is it to be surprised? Too many men are surprised. Too many men get warned in their 40s or 50s that, hey, you have this health complication, it's been going worse for 10 years, and now it's critical. Are you prepared? Of course you're not. You just spent 10 years walking away from that problem. So don't be a coward, okay? This is important. Look at your issues and try to tackle them as quickly as possible. A problem that today will take a week of treatment or some small modifications to fix might take 10 months in 10 years or might even not be curable at all. So don't run away from the distress that the problem is causing. Also because you will find out, and this is something I've discovered recently, that the distress and the anxiety caused by the looming problem is actually worse than the problem itself. It's like procrastination. When you know you have something to do, but you avoid it, now you create a situation where you're constantly stressed out about something that would actually take you maybe 10 minutes to fix. So suck it up and fix it right now. This is how you actually face your problem. The faster you deal with things, the faster you look at truth, the easier it is to digest. And in a long list of things that us men, we also have to stop doing, we have to stop looking at destructive behaviors as being cool. Especially in the fitness sphere, it is extremely prevalent for men to promote or push some masochistic behaviors that are then painted as badass. Think about it for 1 second. Why would hurting yourself for no tangible payback be a good thing? Why did this type of behavior make its way within masculine circles? Why is it cool, for example, to drink excessively? Why is it cool to smoke until you get a cancer and you die? Well, it's because masculinity sadly has been poisoned. This is when I believe we can deem it toxic. It's because certain companies have perfectly understood that the best way to sell men products is to tell them that if they consume said products, they're going to be more masculine. And because we know that being masculine is associated with social success and acquiring women and wealth, we of course fall for the trap. But who benefits from that? It certainly isn't you, it's only these companies. And of course, the common culprits are the tobacco and alcohol lobbies that throughout the years have always done that. Look at all of the Western movies with John Wayne smoking cigarettes. He was paid by the tobacco lobby and industry to promote that type of behavior. Why? He represented a masculine icon, men wanted to emulate him, and so what they did instead is they emulated his behavior. Look at alcohol commercials that date 20 years when men were still quote unquote men. It's always a big tough burly man who sells you on the idea that drinking whiskey makes you more of a macho dude. All of that is of course absolute bullshit, and it's in direct contradiction with what being a man is. Destroying yourself and poisoning yourself for the benefit of mega structures and corporations is idiotic. It is just a form of consumerism. To me, masculinity is anti-consumerism. So this is also something to keep in mind. Too many of these factions, these fringe factions of consumerism hinge on selling men their death and praising them for indulging in it. Look at fitness, look at Instagram fitness, look at YouTube fitness. How many schmucks are going to be smoking cigars? How many idiots promote PEDs as the peak of masculinity? This is, of course, idiotic, but until you think about it and until you look at it the way I just presented to you, you're going to be very easily fooled by that type of behavior. I believe that a positive influence would instead try to stir men away from that type of toxic behaviors. But notice also how these movements, these lobbies, have also found a way against that. They tend to ridicule these sober voices. They tend to ridicule people who try to promote a healthy lifestyle. All of that, again, in an attempt to make you believe that it's lame to be healthy. It's lame to live a long life. Look at the amount of young men who tell you that they're not here for a long time, they're here for a good time. What is it code word for? It's code word for I will destroy myself as soon as I can because a long life is of no interest to me. That is also idiotic, because if you're a man, I bet that you at some point want to have a family, because why else would you want to accumulate resources or wealth? What is the point of life as a man? In my opinion, is to pass on your gene and then to become a patriarch. It's to be the head of the family, to protect your family and to build something, to build an empire. If you sacrifice your years, your later years, by just indulging in that type of toxic and destructive behavior early because you think it's manly, you're actually going to sabotage your ability to be a man, to be the head of a family at some point. And always remember that the people that sell you your death and that make benefits off of your destruction will not show up to your deathbed when you will be ready to croak. This also goes for, of course, all of these people promoting PEDs on YouTube Fitness. They themselves will be absolutely left alone when they will finally face the consequences of their drug use, and it's the same for you. Do not follow that type of influences. Again, it might not look like it right now, but you absolutely have a responsibility to your family and to the people that love you. Maybe they don't exist yet, and you could tell me, NH, I have no one in my life, no one loves you. Now, in this instant, maybe you're alone, but there will come a time where people will depend on you. That is what life as a man is. And on that day, do you really want to look at these people in the eye, knowing for a fact that you indulged or you selected choices in the past that now prevent you from being what you wish you could be for these people? This would actually break your heart. I can absolutely tell you that. So this is also that level of self-awareness that is absolutely needed in this day and age. Another thing that the focus on mental and physical health promoted by Movember actually pinpoints and puts the spotlight on. These are important discussions to have, some that if you had a solid male figure in your life, you would have had already, but there is a chance that the male figures in your life were not the best influence, which I understand 100%. This is why this month is so important. It's to create a healthy circle of influence around you, one that is not going to push you in that type or towards that type of destructive behavior. This is going to be key because if you're young, if you're a teenager, it is extremely hard to project yourself. And the only way to project yourself is to listen to and believe men who are older than you. I might only be older than you by 8 years or 10 years. You might be in your early 20s, I'm in my early 30s. But these 10 years are all the difference. I've noticed that for men, this is the make or break point. Many men ruin their life in their 20s. This is a crucial period of development in your life. And the issue is that if you just copy your peers have no foresight, they have no self-awareness, so most likely you're just going to copy them and have the party lifestyle, a lifestyle that you will come to regret later on. Listen to men like me and others who have made these mistakes in their early 20s and managed to salvage their late 20s. This is a time where you are supposed to build upon what you will be doing for the rest of your life. So the values that you embrace right now most likely will be the values that are going to dictate how your life is going to go. I've met plenty of men who spend their 20s partying and not paying attention to their health, and they paid the price every single time because the rest of their life and the trajectory it followed naturally also aligned with the start of their 20s, meaning that it never elevated itself. These men never got families, they never managed to get married, they never had kids, they never actually built anything of worth. And you most likely follow way too many influencers that are your age, or at least your age mentally, meaning that these might be men who are older than you, but they still are children in their head. They still party excessively, and the only thing interesting in their life, or the only thing they care about, is the pursuit of instantaneous gratification and cheap pleasures, aka they are hedonists. These are not the types of people you want to take actually advice from. And the issue is that across the board, of course, the media promotes and pushes these figures because they promote consumerism. Of course, if you look at the rappers, you look at the artists, the ones at the top of the charts that are sold to youngins as examples to follow in life, they replicate a type of consumerist lifestyle that promotes the growth of capital and never actually promotes your health, your well-being, or your ability to develop as a human. You are treated as cattle, you are treated as a drone that is only there to strengthen the system, play into its hand, and make it richer and richer with every passing year. Fuck that. Movember removes itself from it and instead asks the individual, what do you want to be? What is your goal in life? These are the important questions that too many people don't ask themselves because they are constantly bombarded with, again, all of these flashy figures, all of these influencers that sell them an extravagant lifestyle that will never be yours, that you're going to try to replicate, and that even if you could replicate, would not actually fulfill you because it fails to fulfill them. This is the spiritual part of life, the one that is, in my opinion, the most important, being socially acclimated and being of use, being quote-unquote successful, making good living. All of these are going to be important for you, but if you only focus on that, most likely you are going to miss out on the most important things in life. So please pay attention to that as well. Try to think about the man that you want to be in 10 years and think about what this man would want you to do in this instant. This is important because you can trust me on that. The future you will either curse or thank the past you. Things that you do today have an influence on the way you will be in the future. And even deeper than that, if you have a tough time actually looking at yourself as a valid reason to take care of your health and mental health, because maybe you don't love yourself yet, which I hope you're going to work on, understand that you might have kids one day, you might have a wife one day, and you don't believe that right now, but I tell you that it's a very real possibility. Think about them. Think about your kids. What type of father do you want to be to your kids? What type of influence in their lives do you want to be able to represent? Try to be that man before they show up, because if you wait for the day your wife is pregnant to develop these abilities and to develop these values and virtues to pass on to your children, it will be too late. Understanding also that these values and virtues most likely will be the reason why your wife chooses you in the first place. You have to be a diamond worth purchasing if you want people, especially women, to take actually stock in you. And the good thing is that the polishing of the diamond is that process of taking care of oneself, both physically and mentally speaking. So it's a win-win situation. And to do that, we're going to get back on the psychological aspect afterwards, but the first thing I want you to do is to take care of your health. And how do we take care of our health? It's really not complicated. People try to sell you things about the health of your thyroid, or taking the sun or infrared lights, or doing weird enemas. All of that is bogus. To take care of your health, you have to look at your sleep, reduce consumption of toxins, so caffeine, or drugs, alcohol, exercise. If you're on this channel and you don't exercise, what the fuck are you doing here? Train your body. This is the number one promoter of a healthy and lengthy life. Longevity is correlated with activity and with resistance training. And then diet. Be at a decently low body fat. Don't be a fat ass. Build muscle. All of these things, 100% of the male population is absolutely able to do that, and it hinges entirely on you. It is your responsibility to train your body and to take good care of it, because you only have one and you live in it. So why wouldn't you respect it? It is your temple, so treat it as such. And then you can also go see some specialists that are going to help you with the things that are out of your control. As I told you, some disease, you don't really have a choice. They're there and you have to deal with them. Maybe you have the best diet, you have the best exercise routine, but in your DNA, you have a tendency to develop certain conditions, and these conditions are going to have to be faced at some point. As I told you, the earlier you face them, the easier it is. So go see your doctor. Stop being a knucklehead. Stop thinking you're invincible. Young men think like this all the time. In your 20s, you think that you can take all of these pills and all of that alcohol, sleep 3 hours, and you're going to be fine. You might right now, but not in the future. You are damaging your health. So go get yourself checked. I say that in the sense that it really doesn't take that much. You don't have to get a blood work every single month. You can do it twice a year, and that is already going to take care of 70% of all things. You add on to that going to the dentist or getting some more general checkups once in a while, and now 99% of all risks and causes of early deaths are taken care of. Most men who die early because they ignored these factors. If they had went back and just went to the doctor once a year, these things could have been avoided. So please absolutely do that. Then in terms of specifics, Movember is also focused on two types of cancer in particular: testicular cancer and prostate cancer. For those of you who do not know, the number one type of cancer that men will suffer from in their life is skin cancer. The number two is prostate cancer, and the numbers rise every single year. And yet, it is easy to detect, and if it is taken early, prostate cancer is almost never a lethal threat. It is easy to cure, it is non-invasive, and you can live a happy and long life with it as long as you actually take it early. For most men who are not at risk, you can start getting screened when you're in your 50s. That's even a little bit early, but since the cancers start earlier and earlier with the years because of multiple factors, it is best for you to start in your 50s, especially if you are of African descent. For all of my brothers out there, if you are African American, you have any remnants of African blood in you, please get checked in your late 40s, early 50s. Black men are at twice the risk of dying of prostate cancer. And a lot of that is because they don't get screened, they don't get tested. Again, it's in our culture, and it's extremely prevalent also in Afro-American and African culture, to be quote unquote tough, and going to the doctor is seen as a sign of weakness. It is not a sign of weakness. Dying in your 50s of a stupid cancer that could have been taken care of easily, that is true weakness, because now you won't be able to actually be there for your kids. And this is the part that actually blows my fucking bow. It's something that is very personal, but I think it's important to share with you guys, because I think that this is the point of Movember, is to connect to your brothers so that they open their eyes and they realize what must be done. There is a history of prostate cancer in my family because half of my family is from Africa. I'm only 1/8 because genetics are weird and my ancestors went all over the world for some reason. But every single male in my family died of prostate cancer. My great grandpa died when he was 70. My grandpa died when he was in his 60s. And just 3 years ago, my dad died and he was in his 50s of a preventable cancer, something that could have been taken care of. Why? Because every single thing I told you to do in this list, he did not do. He ignored early signs. He knew he was at risk, but he refused to go to the doctor because it was seen as being weak, as being soft. But deep down, it wasn't for this. It was because he was afraid. He was afraid of being diagnosed with it. But isn't that the stupidest shit? If you know you're at risk, ignoring it is not going to make it magically disappear. Don't be a coward and actually face your problems. Get screened. I say that with intent because if my dad had done the work properly, he would still be alive today. He wouldn't be dead. If he had gotten screened in his 40s, they would have detected the cancer early and he would be fine. But the issue is that he waited and waited and waited, and he only went when he started to develop symptoms. Meaning what? It was already too late. It was a stage 3 cancer and it was over. Because if prostate cancer is easily treatable when taken early, once it develops, it has an ability to metastasis into your bones. And once that is done, it's over for you. And as someone who saw his dad suffer for months, years of this miserable fucking disease, I can tell you that it's not the type of death that you want. This shit is gnawing into your bones. It creates intolerable pains into your spine. The tumors infiltrate between your discs. This is horrible. And the afternoons I spent in the hospital watching my dad wither away and die were some of the worst in my life. So please, for the love of God, if you are at risk, if you are of age, get screened, right? It's not even, they won't even put a finger in your butt. They'll just do a blood test. And that will be all it takes. If you have family, if you have gentlemen in your family that are in their 50s, push them towards that. Tell them to get screened. When I was younger, my dad was smoking and I knew he was at risk, and I wish I could go back and be more insistent. I wish I could have been more aggressive with him, because if I had managed to get him tested earlier, he would still be there today. And the horrible thing, or in this case, the upside, I guess, is that my dad had a brother, my uncle, and my uncle had the same issues because he's of course from the same bloodline. But the difference is that he was the one male in the family that wasn't afraid of going to the doctors, got checked in his 30s, they immediately detected things that went wrong and they fixed it early. And now he's in his 70s and he's a grandpa. My cousin had a kid 2 years ago, and my uncle got to see his grandkid. My dad will never meet his grandkids. My grandkids will be without their grandpa because of a stupid mistake of not actually doing the things that it takes. Think about your family. Think about how much they would miss you if you weren't there. Think about your dad, your uncle, your grandpa, and move it. Do something about it. Don't ignore it. Ignoring it is for cowards. Actually go and get it checked. There is a 10% chance that you will get prostate cancer within your lifetime, but 9 out of 10 times, if it is taken early, it is easily treatable. So this is what I will do it. I say to you, sorry, I'll be emotional. This is what I tell you to do today. Do not ignore these signs. Do not ignore it to be tough. These things can absolutely destroy you. And the worst part about that, and I'll end with this for prostate cancer, I don't know if you guys know what the treatment for prostate cancer is, but most of the time what they do is they inject you with substances that kill your testosterone levels. Why? Because prostate cancer develops via androgenic hormones. Meaning that to be able to reduce the size of the tumor, they have to kill the ability of your body to be anabolic and androgenic. Do you understand what that means for us? It means that all of your muscle you can kiss goodbye. Your mental health will degrade. You will be depressed forever because once you get to a certain point, it's the only treatment that actually works. But if taken early, you don't have to get to these extremities. So please get tested as soon as possible. Keep in mind that you can't be there for your family if you're dead, and you also cannot be a good role model if you're dead. This is why, if you want to be the type of person that is going to be a good dad, it also starts with your values and your ability to also tackle your issues. Your kids will copy the way you live your life. I learned from my dad by making the exact opposite choices he made in his life, and I hope it is going to promote and provide me with a long and healthy life. So also make sure that you follow the right influences. Look at steroids, for example, and all of the people on this platform who promote it. These are the exact opposite of the type of people you want to actually follow or listen to. They are horrible role models. And by the way, for those of you who are at risk of prostate cancer like I am, understand that steroids are anabolic and androgenic hormones, meaning that they promote the growth of prostate cancer. Meaning that if you have it in you and you're supposed to get it in your 70s or 80s if everything goes right, PDUs might actually boost that and move it up to the point that you will start developing that disease in your 50s or even earlier. Do you want to get to a point where you have to deal with prostate cancer when you're in your 40s and you just finally manage to get a family or to be a dad? This is the last thing you actually want in your life. And you will notice that the type of people that push PEDs also use the same strategies that I explained with the tobacco and alcohol industry, where they will try to ridicule people who speak against it by calling them pussies and saying that real men take risk. A real man is not one that jumps off of a cliff because it's risky, bro, so it's cool. That's called being retarded. Do not be that guy. You cannot be, again, a patriarch if you die in your 30s because you're on party drugs. That is absolutely opposed to what being a man is. And the proof I have of this is, look at the amount of these PD users that have families. Look at the amount of them who have children or wives. It's almost 0%. Why? Because one, who would actually want to associate and start a family with that? Most women are not that stupid. And two, they are toxic individuals. No one wants to be around them because they are deeply selfish. Taking PEDs is selfish, but it's also selfish to not take care of your health. If it is manly to take risk, then consider me the least manly motherfucker on earth. I'm not going to sabotage my health for a few gains just so that I can feel better about myself and completely jeopardize my ability to be a good father to my kids, to be a good supporter to my wife, and to be a good son to my mother. So absolutely also take that to heart. Push away these people who try to appear manly by taking risk. Risk-seeking behaviors aren't manly. They are only manly when it comes to protecting or providing for someone. Putting your life on the line for someone that you love is absolutely manly. But taking PEDs is the exact opposite of that. That is something that people do because they are deeply selfish, they only think about themselves, and they refuse to take responsibility for how they affect their family. Look at the amount of PED users who die early and leave toddlers behind them that their now widowed wife, has to take care by themselves without their help. What type of life do you think these kids are going to have? Look at the amount of bodybuilders who die in their 30s. Imagine that shit. Imagine you have a kid, you're a mom, you give the kid all of the love in the world, and they die miserably in their 30s of a heart attack or some fucked up disease. Think about the way your actions impact the people around you. You are a man most and foremost because you are part of a community that counts on you. And you could tell me, well, no one loves me and no one counts on me. For now. Think about the people in the future that will count on you, and that will give you the necessary courage to not be the type of coward who jeopardizes his life with destructive behaviors. Destructive behaviors that, by the way, tend to be a symptom of low self-love. You in reality try to destroy yourself because you hate what you are. The easier way to fix that is to develop a relationship with yourself and to start loving yourself. And suddenly improvement is going to come much easier because you will start to actually want to develop as a person that you have started to become more interested in. This is toxic individualism as opposed to healthy individualism. You want to be an individual and to be of use for others. That is absolutely the point. And the issue in the West, most of the time, is that individualism is promoted as the exact opposite. You are told that you ought to live only for yourself. And this is the type of mentality that, again, promotes destructive behaviors. Because if you only live by yourself, hey, why not take drugs? Why not enjoy life? Why not be a pleasure seeker? At the end of the day, we're only put on this earth to feel good, right? Well, I absolutely disagree with that. This is a very reductive mindset, one that is disconnected from spirituality, and of course, one that is disconnected from the ability to be healthy, both mentally and physically. So turn your back to that and instead follow what I believe to be a more healthy definition of masculinity, which is to be someone of use, to be someone who can help others, to be a pillar of the community, to be a rock for the people that love you. Because to me, a man first and foremost is useful. He is useful because he's a good guide, he's a good protector, and he can also show the way to the younger generation. So, for you who are members of this younger generation, if you are younger than me on this channel, please take role models that you want to resemble. It sounds like it's, of course, a no-brainer, but you will find that with this new algorithmic society we live in, where media is being pretty much pushed onto your lap, you are following people, you have no idea what you're following, and it's simply because the majority of people follow them, so the algorithm fed them to you, and now you just follow them blindly. You never stopped for a second to think to yourself, hey, do I want to resemble that guy? Because most likely, if you follow their advice, that's what's going to happen to you. Only follow people that you want to resemble. In your life as well, learn from male friends and family members who have lived long and healthy lives and who have a family. These are the people that you actually want to emulate. This is where the truth and the wisdom is. In my life, I disregarded everything that my father ever did because he had a miserable life, and I looked at my uncle instead. My uncle who has everything I ever wished I could have. He has a family that he loves. He has a peaceful life where he can do the things that he loves, and he's in great health and in great shape, and he got to be a grandpa. This is my secret desire. I want kids, and one day I want to be a grandpa. I want to be a badass grandpa, like my grandpa was a badass grandpa to me. But the only way to actually achieve that is, again, to focus on your health, both mentally and physically. And now that we're done with the physical, we can actually start looking at the mental health, which is also a massive problem amongst men, especially young men. Keep in mind that men kill themselves 4 times more than women, because when we attempt suicide, we actually go through with it, because most of the time when a man wants to kill himself, he wants to be gone from this earth. This means something. There is a crisis with young men, a solitary crisis. Too many men are alone. They don't have any friends. They don't have any lovers. No one touches them. I saw a survey recently that chilled me to the bone, where there are men, and it's also starting to become a majority of them, who go for months without being touched by a loved one. I don't know how that is possible, but I went through these periods in college where I was like a recluse, like an animal in a cave somewhere, and it just eats away at who you are. You start to degrade mentally, you start to lose your humanity even. And now that I'm at a point where I have a lovely wife who is very affectionate with me, I realized how important it is for mental health. That too must be accepted. You are not weak because you want to be touched. You are not weak because you want to receive love. It's perfectly normal to want to be loved. Just because you're a man doesn't mean that suddenly you're just a hunk of iron and you require no affection at all. If anything, this affection that you give others and you receive from your family strengthens your bonds and makes you a better protector of them, because now you know why you're fighting for them. It is that love that unites you with them. So seek that love as much as you can. I know it's tough. I know you will be rejected. I know that people don't give a fuck about men. I know that for the most part, if you are in trouble as a man, this world is just going to just wait on you even more. It's going to step on your back. It's going to feel like no one is there for you. But I guarantee you that this is not true. There are other men who know your plight, who know how you feel, and who will be willing to extend a hand. And these men are on this channel. They are on other channels in YouTube, but they're also outside of YouTube. You need the courage and you need the ability to actually reach out, because if you despair and you never reach out, then it will never happen. Okay, not reaching out and still receiving love is only reserved for children, pets, and women. Men do not have that privilege. We have to have the emotional maturity to admit when things are going wrong. Are there people out there, assholes, who are going to laugh at you and call you a pussy for it and say that you're less of a man? Yes. And guess what? Fuck these people. They don't get it, and they don't care about the mental health crisis that men are dealing with nowadays. A mental health crisis that will only be resolved once we actually start talking about it, and once we start accepting that the only way to fix it is to start being more in touch with our emotions, to start being more honest about the way we feel. Pushing down your emotions constantly doesn't make you more of a man, it makes you less of a human, because it's never going to actually resolve anything in your life. So please reach out to people. You cannot realistically be a rock 100% of the time. I preach toughness, but even the toughest rock needs a respite from time to time. Hiding your emotions for the sake of being strong is not tough. It's exactly the same as with your problems. You have to face them head on. Right now, there is a big resurgence of stoicism on YouTube, and I think it's great. It's a good philosophy to follow to better your life. But the issue is that too many people see stoicism as the ignorance of emotions, the repression of ignorance of emotions, and that being a man is being a stoic, and it's to just have no emotions at all. That couldn't be further from the truth. Stoicism praises and promotes the controlling of emotions, but the only way to control your emotions is to accept them first and foremost. So don't confuse it with ignoring them entirely, because if you do that, you're just sabotaging a part of you, who you are. Just because you pretend to not have emotions doesn't mean they go away, and you already know that. So don't make that mistake. It's the same as with problems. A feeling that you repress isn't gone. It festers and it ends up dictating your behavior. Things that you ignore eventually start taking control of your life through the unconscious. So you have to consciously tackle them so that they don't become a problem later on in life. And I know it's tough. Facing emotions is tough. For a lot of men, we were never taught that when we were growing up. The only tool of regulating emotions we knew was anger. So most men have anger problems because they filter every emotion they feel through that lens. When they feel sad, they get angry because it's easier to punch a wall than to actually face their problems and face their sorrows. That also is only going to lead to more self-destructive behaviors, and it's going to push people away from you. I don't know if you noticed, but women don't particularly like violent men. So every time if you have a problem, you get violent, you're not going to be able to keep a woman. Instead, try to verbalize your issues, try to put words on them, and then try to deal with them. Once you deal with them and you master them, now you are a true stoic because you have become the master of your emotions. And if it's something that you can do by yourself, reach out to people. Go to therapy, go to groups, go to people who have experience with that and who are there to help you. These people absolutely exist and can make a massive difference. It could also be your family and your friends. If you have them in your life, don't be afraid to open up to them. I know it is scary, but it is necessary. You can't always clam up. I know that I have a tendency to do that, and it's something that I'm working on with the years because I'm realizing that it's a poor coping behavior. The only thing you're doing again is you're trying to move away from the emotion, thinking it's going to be better, but it never actually gets better because the emotion is you. So the only thing you're doing in reality is you're turning your back to your own self. That must stop. That is the type of behavior that leads to suicide. Suicidal ideation and all of the darkness that comes with it will not go away on its own. These are issues and demons that need to be tackled, because if you don't tackle them, they will come one day to claim your life. And this is the last thing that we want. Just like with cancers, these issues, when tackled early and faced early, can be greatly diminished in terms of risk. But the more time you wait, the stronger they become, the harder it is to reach out for help, and the more you are going to feel like you are drowning. So if you're experiencing signs of mental distress and they start to manifest themselves under the form of depression, anxiety, or suicidal ideation, please talk to someone. There are hotlines out there. Again, I repeat myself, but it's key that you hear that. You are not weak for asking for help. What would be weak is to just climb up and die miserably on the side where no one is there to actually help. The tough man, the brave man, the warrior fights until there is no tomorrow. And to fight sometimes requires to ask for help. Look at all of the bravest warriors in the world. They didn't go onto the battlefield by themselves. That is the best way to get yourself killed. They had their brothers in arms to actually look out for them. This is also the way you must think about it. Again, you are not weak because you ask for help. Surrendering to your demons, that would be weak, and that is the thing we want to avoid as much as possible. Any step you take on the path of better mental health is a victory with or without help. So take that hand, and if you need that hand, extend yours. Ask for help, and help will forever be granted to people who are in need. So that is going to be that for this video. I am personally going to spend more time developing topics and ideas on this channel about mental health, especially tailored towards men, because I think that, again, it is too widely ignored. But this month is the month for us to become more conscious and to become more emotionally mature men, and to make ourselves more available, both to talk about our problems, but also to talk about other men's problems, and to again extend a helping hand and make them feel like they are not alone, because you are not alone in the way you feel. And we should always make sure that we are that we are a good brother to one another. And I encourage you during this month of November and beyond to do the same. So you can join Movember if you want by clean shaving your face and growing a stash. You can donate to the charity if you also wish. Check out again Fazlif's video in the description, he perfectly explains it. But first and foremost, what I would want you to do is to use all of these principles I told you and apply them in your life, while at the same time promoting these ideas to people around you. Push men in your life to actually go themselves checked, to go to the doctor, and encourage men around you to talk about their feelings and to develop themselves emotionally, which is absolutely important. A part of a man's life that is sadly way too ignored, but that I think with time we can focus on more and bring to the forefront, which ultimately is only going to lead to stronger and more resilient men. And I'm going to leave you with that. Let me know in the comment if you are going to be joining in Movember, and let's see how big of stashes we can actually grow by the end of this month. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.